65-year-old male suffering from memory lapses and erratic behavior. I am talking about Richard Weber. He is not the Richard Weber you know and love. He is our #1 patient.
You need to work harder and figure it out.
Richard, I can fix you. Because you are the one who taught me everything I know.
Wow, the trailer for Sing It Again is absolutely amazing. But we will talk about the trailer for Sing It Again in a few minutes. There's a chapter time in the description if you're just as excited as I am right now to get to that discussion right away. But first, let's talk about Love of My Life, because I really, really liked Love of My Life. It's a standalone episode, but it led into such an interesting storyline that's going to be happening, though I fear we only are going to get episode 20 and 21 because Grey's Anatomy's production has stopped due to the coronavirus. But let's discuss Love of My Life. It's such a simple episode to talk about because we had 4 characters and it's their story. Like, they had very little interaction. Maggie and Richard had some interaction, obviously, and Maggie and Teddy had some interaction, and, you know, Teddy and Hayes, I mean, they had minor interaction, but the storyline that each character had was truly by themselves. Now, the way I originally set my notes up was we were going to discuss Richard, Hayes, Maggie, and Teddy, but Richard's storyline is the entire crux of the episode, so we will leave Richard for last. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Hayes. So Hayes, we find out, was in a biracial relationship, which, by the way, this episode is diversity Grey's Anatomy. There is so much diversity in this episode. 99% of the world should feel represented in this episode, I feel. There's some form of representation for every person. It's crazy what they did. And don't get me wrong, I love diversity. I think it's needed. I think people should feel accepted and should want to see themselves in movies and TV. But I really have to say this episode was token diversity. But I also really liked it because I'm like, you know, like, that's how the world would run. And, you know, the fact that Hayes was in a biracial relationship, or that Teddy is bisexual. We'll talk about Teddy in a minute. And that Teddy's friend, well, sort of friend, Alice, was a lesbian. You know, it's just how life is, because, you know, everyone is who they are, and their sexuality or the biracial aspect of the relationship really had nothing to do with the storyline except for the fact that these are people and this is who they are. However, it was a lot. It was a lot for me, and I was like, whoa, it's just so much, but it's so good, so I ate it up. I dig stuff like this. So, first off, the wig that they made Hayes wear in the flashback was horrible. Like, I have never seen such a bad wig. And he's bald, like, or he shaves that he might be bald. I don't know what his hair situation is, the actor in real life, but the wig is so bad. So we find out how he meets his wife, and then we find out that his wife has cancer and that she dies, and, you know, he leaves him a widower. There was one thing that happened that the wife said, where she said she was 33 years old and having a hysterectomy, but his 2 sons were so old, and it's not like she was 18 years old, as far as I could tell, unless she was supposed to be 18 and they were together from when she was 18 to 33, and that explains the ages of her sons. But that actress, she looked great, but she was not 18 years old. She was definitely in her late 20s, early 30s, or at least giving off the vibe of that when she met Hayes. And then it would make sense, you know, practically, if she was 18, that she would then unfortunately need the hysterectomy for the age of the kids and for the storyline. But the casting was wrong. I mean, if anything, they should have had younger Hayes and a younger Mrs. Hayes be for the flashbacks, as opposed to getting the actors. So that was my first critique. So Hayes' storyline for me is a little bit more critical because the wigs that he wears is awful, and the acting or the casting choices for his wife, his kids, and the direction that they were trying to, you know, go with them. I mean, I get the directions, like he's a widower and it's showing us his backstory, but I really felt that the odd casting choices took me out of his storyline. And I hate to say it, I don't care for Hayes. I like Alex. I miss Alex. Granted, I do ship Marilix, but that ship is done because it's Izzy Alex now. But I understand why they're giving us Hayes' backstory. They told us he was a widower, and now we get to see how he became one. But I honestly was like, okay, can we just go through this a little faster, please? And again, as I said, the casting took me out of Hayes' storyline. Overall, the acting for the actor that plays him, totally fine. Totally fine. But I didn't care for it. Honestly, I thought it was the weakest part of the episode. There was the one scene, or two, I guess, but the main scene he had with Teddy where he was talking to the sales rep and he like got really mad. It shows to show like how much in mourning he is still over his wife, which is great for the character. Like he can't let go, and maybe Meredith, if they do make Mick Widow and Meredith a thing, they'll show Meredith being able to help him get over the grief like she did Derek. But at the same time, I just didn't care for any of it. Again, kudos to the actor who plays Hayes. I think he's very good. I just think that Hayes is an unneeded character. So now let's discuss Maggie. I love Kelly McCreary with all my heart. She's a great actress, very versatile, and here she did such a good job playing goofy and funny and then extremely dramatic towards the end of the episode. We'll talk about her dramatics when we get to discuss Richard. So her storyline is really simple. She fell in love like a Disney princess, a classic Disney princess, not Princess Tiana, not Rapunzel, not Anna. She fell in love like a very classic Snow White, Cinderella, Princess Aurora Disney princess. It's hilarious because the show is all about strong, independent female women, which I love. I love all that stuff. Like my favorite character in all of Disney is Elsa and Rapunzel, but they made Maggie slightly a Disney princess. It made no issues with her character in the sense of it or the slightest bit, but it was just hilarious how quick she fell in love. But I love it. I love that she was able to feel that way because, she's been dealing with Jackson for a long time. She's been dealing with her relationship with Jackson for quite some time, and she hasn't had any relationships. And so I think it'd be good for Maggie to have a new LTR. And that's really her storyline, is her falling in love again, and the potential that she might be able to have a new boyfriend and maybe a husband down the road. Or if the show wants to just ruin the chemistry that these two actors have, they could just put her back with Jackson. Who knows? I have absolutely no clue. But overall, I just really loved Kelly McCreary's acting in her entire little storyline that she had. I also very much enjoyed her scenes with Teddy. I think Kim and Kelly have that fantastic chemistry, and I would love to personally see more sister scenes. I think they are fantastic. When I mean by sisters, I mean Meredith, Maggie, and Amelia, but I would like Teddy to be involved in those scenes as well. But the few scenes we got with Maggie and Teddy, Maggie and Teddy, Kim and Kelly, I loved it. I loved it so much. So Maggie's storyline, I really did like. I'm happy that she's having this new romance, and I'm looking forward to seeing what will come of it. Though I have a feeling next week, Maggie's romance is not going to be discussed because she's going to be worrying about her father. Okay. And the last storyline to discuss is Teddy. By the way, this episode could totally have just used its own independent review, but I do like to keep the Grey's Anatomy videos. The way I've been doing it is we watch the trailer, then we talk about the episode that aired on Thursday, and then we talk about the trailer after. But this episode I thought was really meaty and could have had its own 11-minute discussion. So, as I said, this episode is diversity, diversity, diversity. So we meet Claire, and then we find out that she's a lesbian with Clara, and then we also find out that there was a biracial relationship with Teddy, and who is now bisexual. She's the second bisexual character on the show, and Claire, excuse me, the double Claires are kind of killing me. We find out that Claire was in a relationship with Allison, who's a lesbian. So Claire and Allison are lesbians. Teddy is bi. Teddy was being a dirty mistress with Allison, and Allison was cheating on Claire. Allison is Teddy's friend who died in one of the towers on 9/11. It's a big O to Allison throughout the episode, especially throughout the entire series with Teddy, especially since Allison is the name of her daughter. I liked the backstory that we got for Teddy, but at the same time, I didn't, because her being willing to cheat with Claire. Now, this cheating is debatable here because technically Allison and Claire were in a relationship, and then Teddy was the mistress. But, Teddy's cheated on Owen with Karasik. This does not help with her character in the slightest, that she's willing to be morally scrupulous, I would say. Anyway, I really did like how we found out that Teddy's grief from losing Allison is what blocked her from being able to properly pursue Owen for so long. And then at the end of the episode, we have Teddy's amazing apology to Claire, and I really like that. I think Kim Raver is such a fantastic, fantastic actress, and I thought she owned all these scenes. Again, I just don't like that they made Teddy so willing to hurt Claire. You know, Claire was also her roommate, might I add, and her friend, and Teddy was blatantly aware of what she was doing. And Teddy's character deserves better, so I don't think that the cheating aspect is helpful, since now we know that she's more than willing to do it. She's done it in the past. She's done it in the past, like way past, like 20 years ago during the events of 9/11, and then she's done it with Karasik twice now with Owen, or reverse it. She's cheated on Owen twice now with Karasik, but I do think that Teddy's apology scene was excellent, and it's good to see. It's good to finally put a face to Allison. But as I said, diversity, 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 because we have Hayes in an interracial relationship, and then we have Claire and Allison are lesbians, and also Allison was Black or African American, and then we also have the fact that Teddy is a bisexual character. She's the second bisexual character, I believe. I've said this on the show. Next to Callie. You would think maybe we could have had some scenes of Callie and Teddy talking about being bisexual, but maybe the writers had no idea they wanted to make Teddy a bisexual character until this season. Either way, I very much enjoyed Teddy's storyline. So now let's discuss Richard. Now, Richard's whole gimmick through this episode was he was going to present his path pen, and then we see that Catherine comes, but it's not Catherine, so it ruins all the scenes, which I thought was kind of annoying, because he's having tactile hallucinations, and I really, really liked the fact that him and Catherine made up in the hallucination scenes, and it made me very upset that that's what was going on, that Catherine wasn't there. And now we realize there's something very wrong with him. I thought it was a brain tumor, but from the trailer, it looks like it was a stroke that Meredith is going to fix. Again, we'll talk about that in the trailer. So then, towards the end of the episode, so Richard, I was really going to talk about how much I ship him and Catherine, but, which I do ship them quite heavily. However, everything that Richard did until the audience realizes that Catherine wasn't there, had nothing to do with the episode. It's just showing us that he's having these tactile hallucinations. So, Meredith Jackson and the real Catherine, along with Bailey, all had small cameos towards the end of the episode. Richard goes to present, and it's all gibberish. I have to tell you, I can't believe Maggie is doing this, is letting him present for this long, and then poor Meredith Jackson, Catherine, and Bailey are all watching in horror. I was really glad that they got to all have cameos in this episode. Hayes isn't a main character, so the episode really would have only had 3, being Maggie, Richard, and Teddy. So I'm glad that we also get a couple additional main casts as well, even in a small role, just to see the reaction to Richard. I thought that was very, very nice to the audience, because I have to tell you, did not expect to see them. So I can't believe Maggie let Richard go on for that long, but I really did like when she went up to him and tried to stop him, and then when Richard said, "Who are you?" Only critique of this episode, it would have been excellent if she said, "It's me, Dad, Maggie." She has not called Richard Dad once, or even, I think, said, "I love you" to Richard, and I would have loved if she called him Dad. Like, that would have been the moment to do it. So Richard's scenes end with them calling 911, and then we get the trailer. Overall, Love of My Life, as I said, this video, the Love of My Life discussion, could have earned its own separate video because it is such a good episode. Not background noise. Amazing. I really liked it. 5 out of 5. And I hope you guys enjoyed the episode just as much as I did. Minus what happened with Teddy. I think it's just the fact that it ends on such a cliffhanger. I'm so concerned about Richard. I really like Maggie's scenes. I like Teddy's scenes, even though I didn't like what they did to the character. Overall, this episode just screams classic Grey's Anatomy, and it's so much fun. So I want to know what you guys think about Love of My Life in the comments below. And now we can discuss the trailer for Sing It Again. So we'll read the description, and then we'll go from there. Owen and Link treat an older woman who wakes up from her surgery and can't stop singing, while Teddy helps Karasik stay afloat after an estranged loved one from his past comes to the hospital looking for help. Meredith, Bailey, and Maggie focus their efforts on a difficult patient with a tricky diagnosis. All right, so we have the description that talks about Owen, Link, Teddy, and Karasik, and then we also have the description talking about what we saw in the trailer, which is Richard, who is the tricky patient. Owen and Link and Teddy and Karasik, I have a feeling, are going to be minor storylines, while most of our focus is going to be on Maggie, Meredith, Richard, Catherine, possibly Jackson as well, and Bailey. I honestly do believe that Meredith or Ellen Pompeo, Chandra Wilson, and Kelly McCreary are the best actors on the show. I love Kim Raver, and I think she's just as good, but I really, really do believe that the top 3 actresses are Meredith Bailey and Maggie. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how they're going to deal with Richard. So we got so many cool shots in this trailer. It's amazing. The trailer is absolutely amazing. It is a perfect Grey's Anatomy trailer because the music is intense. The narration is intense. The market, like, this is how all Grey's Anatomy trailers should be. The ones that had Station 19 in them prior to this are awful. They're awful trailers, and it should not exist. They should all have been just pure Grey's based, and it would have had me more excited. ABC's marketing improved. I think it's because this episode is so intense, given the fact that we could lose a main character. Now, back in season 15, there was the fear of losing Catherine. Now, most people didn't care because they don't like Catherine. Speaking of Catherine, she looks so shocked at the end of Love of My Life, and she's so concerned in this trailer, particularly the scene where she's talking to Jackson. I do wonder if she's going to get over her issues, like hopefully Richard imagined, and Richard and Catherine will be okay, and Richard won't die. I think teasing Richard dying is a good way to get fans to come back to the show, particularly older fans who have left because they want to know the fate of Richard Webber. I think a lot of people, I didn't look at I don't remember the number offhand, but to find out the fate of Alex Krabb, I think a lot of people who did watch the show prior came back and at least read about it. It keeps Grey's Anatomy in the books because Richard and Alex were on the show for years. Richard is still on the show. So I think the fate of Richard is no wonder why it's marketed so well. It's because it's going to get other people to talk about Grey's Anatomy. But as I was saying, Catherine was, teased to die. I don't think a lot of people truly cared. I like Catherine, but she can be kind of annoying. But to tease Richard dying, I really hope it is a tease. But to have Meredith be the one to save him. First off, can't you save him? As I said, I thought it was a tumor. But I guess it must have been a stroke. And to have Meredith save him is amazing. Back in season 6, when she being Meredith, willingly gave herself to the gunman and told Gary Clark that Richard Webber is the closest thing that he has to a daughter, that scene got me. Meredith and Richard's relationship went from disastrous in the beginning of the show to Meredith being a surrogate daughter to him, and I absolutely love it. And I really hope that she can save him. As Meredith said in the trailer, Richard taught her everything that she knew. Hopefully it'll be enough to save him. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen. Kelly McCreary looks like she'll have some good moments with Richard as well as Bailey. I'm so excited to see. Maybe this will be the episode when Maggie finally gets to say, Richard, Dad, and I love you. Like, I really want to see stuff like that. This trailer, by the way, had so many amazing shots, and most Grey's Anatomy trailers, or even any television promo trailer, doesn't have tons and tons of shots. This one has so many money shots. It even has a sister shot. I love the fact that we can see Amelia, Maggie, and Meredith, and to a degree Richard, all together. The trailer is intense. It has almost every character. It doesn't have Glasses, DeLuca, Link, and Owen, but it includes almost the entire main cast, and I love it. I love what we're going to see in this trailer. As I said from the description, we're going to have Owen and Link doing their own thing. I really think it's going to be a C storyline, and Teddy and Karasik is probably going to be CB. Teddy and Karasik are with Bailey when she's talking about Richard. So I'm hoping on some level that Karasik and Teddy will be talking about Richard, and like the focus will be on them. This episode is going to be so focused on Richard that these other two storylines are going to be, I would imagine, minor, and the audience is only going to want to know what's going to be happening with Richard. Catherine is concerned, so Richard and Catherine's marriage might get back together. Can Meredith save him? God, I hope she can. I think the trailer is fantastic. As I said, it's all Grey's Anatomy. It's extremely powerful. And, the description has two different storylines that aren't in it, but it's not needed. And I think that this episode will be perfectly balanced, and I'm so looking forward to watching it and discussing it. I'm a little upset due to the coronavirus that next week we'll have two more videos. So we'll have the discussion of episode 20 and the trailer for episode 21, and then provided we get a trailer for episode 22, I'll do an episode 21 discussion if we don't get the trailer. But that'll be it until Grey's can go back to filming. So either way, I thought the trailer was perfectly cut. I thought Love of My Life was fantastic, and Sing It Again is an amazing looking trailer, and I can't wait to see it. So share your thoughts in the comments below. This review is so long because it was just so good. So good. So share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching with me, and we'll talk about Grey's Anatomy next week. All right, guys. Bye.